여러분 안녕하십니까?
Hello everyone, it's time for the Genesis lecture.
제
Today is the 6th lecture. And today we'll start by looking at Genesis chapter 27. Continuing from last time, we'll talk about Jacob and Esau. Last time we spoke about Rebekah and what she said to Jacob. Let your curse be upon me, my son. Only listen unto my voice, and go and fetch me 2 kids of goats. And with those words, Jacob was able to go before his father. Jacob accepted those words as faith in his heart, and that was how he could stand before his father. If you look at Genesis chapter 27, there are a few things that we cannot understand. Why would Jacob have to go before his father and lie, saying that he is Esau? Many people ask this question, is it right for him to lie? And God's providence is shown through this. If you look in the scripture, you will find a king named Jeroboam, a king of Israel, and his wife, the queen, took the son that Jeroboam had born towards the prophet Ahijah. In that image, you can see that he took Jeroboam's wife. Usually, she disguises herself and goes in front of the prophet Ahijah, and just like Isaac, Ahijah's eyes were dim. And God told the prophet Ahijah that the wife of Jeroboam is coming towards him. And God told him that she would come in disguise, and he revealed everything to him when she came to ask a question. So, as she came to him, she was in disguise. But Ahijah said to the wife of Jeroboam to come out, and he revealed her. And the prophet's eyes were dim, but he was shown by God the truth, so that she could be revealed. However, in Genesis 27, Isaac's eyes were dimmed, and he could not see through Jacob. God could have allowed him to see through Jacob, but he kept Isaac blind towards Jacob. If you try to observe with your eyes, you can say, is this a lie? And think strangely about the situation. Yet, the important thing here is that once people who have faith are seen by those who do not have faith, they can never understand through their own thoughts. They never throw their thoughts away, and they can never escape. If those people who do not have faith never leave their thoughts of trying to understand, then they can never believe and receive the words of faith. They cannot have faith. Yet, once the people who have no faith see those of faith, it always seems as a lie to them. To us, here in Genesis 27, there's a heart that Jacob has and a heart that the mother has. And these two worlds are different. The mother at this time says to Jacob, return to your father. Inside the mother's heart, Jacob going out to the father is a way to receive blessing. It is a place of blessing for her, and a position to receive a blessing from Isaac. However, Jacob at that time says, I am a smooth man, and he only sees it as a curse. That is the heart that he had. So the world of the heart which the mother and the world of the heart which the Jacob have, they are different. Since people do not live by faith, they feel that living by faith is burdensome. If you see those people that continually smoke, they receive that nicotine within their body because they smoke. And as a result, that nicotine within their body, they are constantly being pulled to smoke. The reason why they keep smoking is not because it is good for the body, but the craving for nicotine is causing them to continually smoke. And so it causes cravings and they are drawn to it. If we live by avoiding burdensome thoughts instead of by faith, following our humanistic thoughts, and we refuse to live by faith, we become used to that. As we look at Genesis chapter 27, we can see that the heart which comes from Jacob is different from the mother's heart. The mother's heart and Jacob's heart are different. So when the mother speaks to Jacob, he is able to gain faith in that heart of the mother. Last time we talked about it for a few minutes. In this world of faith, if you do not throw your own thoughts away, you can never have faith. So at this point, when Rebekah tells Jacob, "Upon me be thy curse, my son," it says in the Genesis chapter 27, verse 13, it says, "And his mother said unto him, Upon me be thy curse, my son. Only obey my voice and go fetch me them." Inside of Jacob's heart, these words became faith. These words inside of Jacob became faith, and Jacob obeys these words, bringing the kids of the goats to his mother. As Jacob came back to the mother with the kid of the goats, the mother took those kids of the goats and prepared the savory food which the father loves. Through this, the mother's heart and Jacob's heart become one. Rebekah and Jacob have this relationship of faith. And since Jacob's mother's words become faith inside of his heart, he can bring the kid of the goats to his mother. Then the mother can gather all those things and prepare all which he has given. When God pours grace upon us, it is just as this. When we go before God, we do not take our good actions and great ability in front of Him. But we do not take those things, but only the righteousness of Jesus. This image is the same as Rebekah preparing everything for her son. This is the gospel. In order to become righteous before God, we do not do something, but Christ prepares all things and it becomes accomplished. We must accept that, believe in it, and bring that before God. What is the gospel? If you look at Romans chapter 5, "For as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners, so by the obedience of one shall many be made righteous." That is what it says here. Through Adam's disobedience, many were made sinners, but through one man's obedience, many shall be made righteous. And that is through Jesus' obedience, many were made righteous. So what is the obedience of Jesus Christ? What is His obedience? This scripture, Hebrews chapter 10, it says in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 10, it says, "By the which will we are sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once for all." This is talking about the will of God. He is not giving the kids of the goats or cows as offering, but the offering of Jesus Christ was the will of God. The body of Jesus Christ given as an offering at one time, that was the will of God. So within Romans chapter 5, through the obedience of one person, Jesus Christ, He gave His body as a sacrifice once and for all. Christ giving His body on the cross was obedience, and through that obedience we were all made righteous. Through one man's disobedience, many were made sinners. And through Jesus Christ, this one man, we were made righteous. Through His obedience, Jesus Christ's body was made an offering once and for all. by giving this sacrifice, we are sanctified by the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once and for all. In order for us to become righteous and receiving that righteousness, I do not have to do anything. Only Christ's body was given. Through Jesus' obedience, we have been made righteous. We have not done anything, and in that same way, in Genesis chapter 27, verse 14, after Jacob's mother, after her words became faith for him, for Jacob, and he believed them, then he went, fetched, and brought them to his mother. What did he bring? He went to the flock of kids and brought back 2 kids of the goats. It's just like Christ becoming the offering, and through him becoming the offering we were made righteous. Just like that, Jacob brought those kids of goats to his mother, and she prepared and made the meat which his father loved. Who makes the feast that the father loves well? It is the mother that makes this meal well. The mother can make this food for the father very well. That son named Esau, he hunts very well. He's a very good hunter, and he believes in himself using his good methods and goes hunting in the mountain. He brings back the food and prepares it as well. However, the mother knows the father's desire of taste perfectly and can cook better for her husband. So they made the savory meat which the father likes. The mother knows what is better for the father. God has shown Christ what he is pleased with. The mother has received the curse from Jacob, and Jesus has received the curse from us. Jesus has become the offering, and God is pleased with Christ. And he's showing that to us. Here, the meat that the father loves is prepared by the mother. Then, Rebekah takes the clothes of her older son Esau, and puts them on her younger son Jacob. Jacob had not prepared anything, and this mother is gathering these good clothes of Esau and placing them on Jacob. In the same way, God had killed the animal and covered Adam and Eve with the skin of the animal. And using the good clothes of Esau, Jacob is going in front of his father, not showing his own image at all, but only showing the image of Esau. And through showing the good clothes of Esau represents wearing the righteousness of Jesus. He is not showing the image of Jacob at all. And right now, she is gathering the good clothes from Esau and putting them completely onto Jacob. As the father feels Jacob, he cannot see Jacob. And as he feels him, Jacob has the goat skin on him. This is not the image of Jacob at all, but this is the complete image of Esau. In Genesis chapter 27, verse 16, it says, "And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands and upon the smooth of his neck." So she put the skin of the goats on his hands and on the smooth of his neck. And what does Jacob do? He doesn't do anything. He only receives what the mother does for him and stands still. Let's not add any more of our own thoughts, but let's think about how we can receive and receive the way it is given to us. Then in verse 17, "And she gave the savory meat which she had prepared for the hands of her son Jacob, and she placed it in the hands of her son Jacob." So she prepared everything for him. And so he took what the mother made, And Jacob went out to his father, and he said, "O father." And Isaac replied, "Son, who are you?" Here, the mother perfectly made everything and prepared everything so that Jacob could be seen in the right image to go before the father to receive a blessing as Esau. So Jacob can go up before the father and say that he is Esau. And when he goes out before the father to say that he is Esau, if he does not have faith, if he cannot say that he is Esau, then it's not faith. So when the father asked Jacob, "Who are you?" Jacob responded to his father saying that I am your first son, Esau. Now I did according to what you commanded, so eat this meat that I have prepared for you. Then Father, bless me. So I have done everything you have commanded me. Jacob presented all the things which the mother had prepared before the father. All the things were prepared according to all the things which the father commanded. Who was the one who did this? God gave us the law, and can man follow all these laws? All the things from them? The one who can fulfill everything within the law was Jesus, and He is the end of the law. We have the faith to believe in that Jesus who keeps the law perfectly. And Jacob goes out before his father Isaac, and in verse 21, something important occurs here. So Jacob comes before his father. And so here, the father, Isaac, in verse 21, he says something very important. Something happens here very important. Isaac said unto Jacob, "Come near, so that I may feel thee, whether thou be my very son Esau or not." So now, the father Isaac tells his son Jacob to come close to him, so that he may feel him. "I want to feel you." He wants to feel him. Then Jacob goes to his father, and Isaac feels him and touches him. And on that body, he had hair. He says that the voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands of Esau. The voice was of Jacob's voice, but the hands were of Esau, and he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy as his brother Esau's hands, so he blessed him. At that time, what did he feel? He felt the hair. He felt that he had hair. His hands were hairy. This is Esau. Then his father Isaac had asked him again, "Are you really my son Esau?" "Yes, I am." Jacob had perfectly covered his own image. The father Isaac does not know that the son who is speaking with is Jacob. He actually has no doubt that this is Esau. Once the father sees Jacob, he says this in verse 27, "And he came near and kissed him." In verse 27 it says, "And he came near and kissed him." Jacob goes towards his father, and Isaac kisses him. He went close to his father and smelled him as he kissed him. And he said, "This is the smell of my son. The smell of my son is the smell of the field which God has blessed." This father is not smelling the son of Jacob, but this is the smell of my first son Esau. This is the smell of my son, which is the smell of the field which God had blessed. What is this saying? He could not smell anything that was from Jacob at all. Instead, he is smelling the smell of Esau. When God sees us, what does He see? If inside of our hearts we have the standard of good and evil, if we have this standard inside of us, then God would truly hate that. So today, what thing we have to talk about that is important is, in Genesis chapter 27, verse 21, it says that Isaac wants to feel his son. The father wants to feel the son. Let's think about this. The father is feeling him, but what is he feeling on his hands? He felt the hair on Jacob's hands. What is this telling us? Everything has been prepared perfectly, so as God sees our hearts, just as Isaac felt the hairs on Jacob, if he feels that heart saying, I'm great like this, God will look at us as well. Let's say, if we have this humanistic goodness or righteousness in our hearts, if we feel those things, then God will not receive that person. If God feels those things. However, God, when He feels us, He feels hair. This mother prepared the hair for Jacob, putting the skin of the kid of the goats on his arm and on the smooth of his neck. This is the hair that the mother put on him. And this is also talking about the righteousness of Jesus, which is being shown to us here. When Jesus feels us, what does He feel? Jesus is feeling the righteousness. It's the righteousness that He feels. When God feels us, what does He feel? He feels this righteousness and faith. And He'll say, oh, he has faith. Here, there's faith. Here, inside of Jacob's heart, how is faith being accomplished? The mother says to Jacob, upon me be thy curse. Only follow my word and bring them to me. After she says this to Jacob, Jacob goes and brings these animals to his mother. And those words, which the mother had said, entered into his heart and became faith. And as they became faith, just as he believed in the word, in the same way, as Jesus has accomplished all things through His death, then as He feels our heart, those who believe in this, do they have faith? This is what they are feeling as faith. So in Genesis chapter 27, Jacob and Esau are going before the Father and is telling us very clearly. Jacob, that is going before God, is not going before God with his actions. He is going before God with faith. This is being shown very clearly. Esau is not a person who is going out in faith, but he is a very good hunter. He follows his father's words and goes out into the mountains believing in himself. He goes out, retrieves those animals, and brings them to his father. And this is the image that he has. Here it is showing us the Esau who believes in his actions. Yet, how did Jacob receive his heart? How did Jacob receive faith? You can clearly see the image of someone going out in faith. Esau believes himself and goes out, and he is not receiving a blessing, but he is the image of someone receiving the curse. You can see that clearly here. Once we go out before God, like this we say, when Jacob went out towards his father, he said to Jacob, who are you? I am Esau. The father asked him again, who are you really? The truth is, I am Jacob. I'm not Esau. I'm Jacob. If he does this, he cannot receive the blessing. Yet, when Isaac asked, who are you? Jacob says again, I am Esau. When he says that I am Esau, this is believing the mother's word, and this is faith. This is why he can admit that. In front of these two people, when we stand before God, whoever stands before God by themselves, they admit before God. Now, before the law, people that are inside their own conscience, they stand before God, and God asks, who are you? Then they say, oh, I am a sinner. They answer saying, I am a sinner. They admit that. And no one can help but to say it that way. Yet the people that have faith, when they stand before God and God asks, who are you? Then you can say, I am Esau. I am righteous. That is how they can admit it. In front of God, just like Isaac, God's eyes are dim. How are God's eyes dim? Through God's eyes, as He sees us, He does not see any of our faults. Yes, God does look at our heart and the center of our being, but God Himself, His eyes are dim. So just as Isaac cannot see that it is Jacob who is standing before him, when God sees us and asks, "Who are you?" then inside of our hearts what we admit, where does it come from? God looks to see if this person has faith. So that image appears in Genesis chapter 21. In verse 21, when it says, "And Isaac said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not." It's very important what it says here. God is telling us that He wants to feel us. God wants to feel our hearts to see if we have faith or not. God truly wants to feel us. As the mother and Jacob meet, Jacob that does not have faith and the mother that does, we can see that they are interacting here. In the beginning, Jacob has a burden in his heart, and this prevents him from going before his father. This is the heart that does not have faith. That was the heart that he had. But inside the mother, there is faith. Inside the mother's heart, before Jacob and Esau were born, she knew that the older should serve the younger. She had that word of promise already inside of her heart, so she already knew to put Jacob in the position to receive the blessing. Originally, Jacob could not go to that place. However, once the heart that did not have faith met with the mother's heart of faith, Jacob, that did not have the faith, is able to throw himself away. He throws his thoughts away, and he receives the words of his mother by faith, and he can go out before his father. And by faith, he can admit that he is Esau. So God feels us and is in the exact way as Isaac felt Esau. When he felt him, he felt that his hands were as hairy as Esau. Oh, because those hands are hairy like Esau's, he blesses him. So he touches him. What we see and what God sees is very different. He feels him and says, "Oh, he has hair." What's it saying? "Oh, I see faith. This person seems lacking and weak, but as I feel him, I can feel faith." So he feels faith, and as he sees this faith, God says he is righteous. So we can see in Genesis chapter 27, as in the first lecture, we talked about verse 11, "I am a smooth man." In the third lecture, we talked about it, verse 11 saying, "I am a smooth man." This is what we discussed, and we discovered that this is talking about the heart inside of the law, which is a heart that does not have any faith. The heart that expresses that says, "I am a smooth man." And the next thing that we took a look at was verse 12 and 13. "And his mother said unto him, On me be thy curse, my son," saying that, she concluded, "Only obey my voice and fetch me 2 kids of the goats." This is talking about transferring the faith that is in the mother's heart inside of Jacob. Jacob is escaping from the law and going out before the father and saying that he is Esau, in the exact way as we are going out with faith and saying that we are righteous. And the third lecture today is talking about feeling the son or not, and if this is Esau or not, or that is God feeling and looking at our heart. Then does he feel faith or not? When he feels faith, as God sees all of our lacking attributes and problems, in front of that, he sees faith and he is pleased with that. So he feels the faith and he is joyous with that. And through the third lecture of Genesis chapter 27, we see what God is looking at within us. And that is what we spoke about today. And I will end the lecture here today. Thank you very much.